Well, hi everyone, this is DearMamaSal and I'm out and about again. Been a busy week. This time for birthday meal number 3. I'm going off to go and have lunch or brunch. Actually, it's a late lunch with my friend Patty. And I was wondering how many of you beat up on yourself with really negative words, and by so doing really mess with your psyche. The thing I wanted to say was that, this whole discussion that I've been having about what happened to me when I had all this negative news come from the doctor, potentially very serious negative news. It was so easy for me to get overwhelmed by it, by the words, and the other thing is, in today's reality, we are able to check so much online, and the doctor actually doesn't have to give you that much news as long as you're checking in the right places. Like, I do go to the Mayo Clinic, not Fred Bloggs' idea. But the words can be very stressful. Words like tumor immediately, sets up a wavelength in our bodies that is fearful. Even though we know there's a 50% chance that it can be benign, it can be non-harmful. But, it's just the word, because we associate words with words. The issue that we have, and it's something that I really am so aware of, is that we link words within our mind, and we link them in a negative way or a positive way, depending on our mental health. And I'd like to say that, depending on our mental health, if you've got very solid mental health going on, you don't always go to the negative of things. If you're always going to the negative things, you probably got a little bit of a mental health issue going on. And so one of the things that I try and say to people who talk to me about mental health issues, in other words, I'm stuck, is have a look at the words you're using and also have a look at the reality. Take the emotion out of it and deal with the reality. So let me give you an example of that. When I heard that my kidney filtration rate was down to 44, and I did the research, that was pretty bad. Now, yesterday I met somebody whose filtration rate is in the 20s, and she's looking pretty good. But she's being careful to hold it at that level. So you see, again, it's about where do you link. If you've never heard about kidney filtration and you do the research, you're going to find the right information. But how serious is it? All right, in my case, it apparently was a bit of a one-day wonder. They just happened to check it on a bad day. And for some reason, probably because they made me fast, the reading came out pretty negatively. Now, the interesting thing was that they found blood in my urine. So, pretty negative stuff. And it was so funny because I said to my doctor, is it possible to have blood in your urine one day and not the next? And he said no. Not microscopic blood. Well, apparently I proved him wrong, because they didn't find any on the next batch of tests. And then, some of you will be thinking, well, maybe it was just a urinary tract infection. I asked that as well, and he said no, because there weren't any nitrates. Apparently that's the telling thing. So when you look at words, when you look at your reaction to certain words, it's amazing what we do to scare ourselves stupid. And I want to tell you, I was along with the best of them. But what I did was distract myself away from that thinking. All right, so here's the next thing. I found something else that was really interesting, and I wonder if any of you have been there and done that. I found I didn't want to cope with anything other than that particular issue. You know, my mind just didn't have room for anything else in it than dealing with the possibility of what could happen. And so from that perspective, it was interesting because I didn't pay my bills. I didn't do very much housework. I didn't, do all sorts of things. And I forgave myself. I realized that I was dealing with stuff. Now, I tried to describe it to one of the viewers, my friend Jody. I was trying to describe it to her as I talk about I've got a little man in my head called Jones, and he's my librarian. And whenever I give him information, he runs around like an idiot, filing it. And I want you to get this mental picture. But every now and then I overload Jones with filing material. In other words, when he gets a shock, when we suddenly find out there's way more information than he's used to filing, total overload. That would be the case when I got that information and started to research and do what I needed to do to find out what was going on. And so I realized that it would take Jones, the little guy running around in my head, a little while to get all that sorted out. The first thing that I wanted to do was to get the information so that I knew I was informed. Not that I wanted to scare myself stupid, I wanted to be informed. If my kidney filtration rate drops, what does that mean? How bad will it be? So when I got that information, that was more information than I'd had before, so that gave Jones a little bit of extra filing to do. Make sense? That means it used up a bit more of my brain, so therefore my brain didn't have time to be working on other things. Then I had the issue where I didn't want to smoke. So I painted. That took up a lot of my time, and still will, I think, for some time. Hopefully, because I thoroughly enjoy it. And then you look at it and you go, have a look at your life. And give yourself permission every now and then to understand what overload looks like. You've just heard some bad news about a friend of yours. Your little librarian in your head's going to overload for a bit because they're going to go, wow, that's not normal news, so now I got to do extra filing. Plus, you will go through that cycle of loss, which we talk about a lot. The first one is denial. I can't believe I heard that. And then anger. How dare they do that to my friend? And then sadness. What if it's serious? And then eventually we get to acceptance and we move on with the reality. So when we take the emotion out of it, we can actually function. But emotions will come. Emotions, I was talking to somebody about this today, that these emotions will come in waves. Sadness will come in waves. Anger will come in waves. And it normally is just, if you like to think of it that way, it's processing. We're processing new information.